It's 3 in the morning somewhere in the middle of the ocean. The sky is pitch black, and the waves crash against a steel wall that stretches longer than 3 football fields. But while most of the world sleeps, 6 decks below the surface, a team of nuclear technicians is already at work. Their eyes scan glowing screens, their hands run through procedures repeated 1,000 times, and their mission is simple: keep America's most powerful warship alive. This is the USS Gerald R. Ford, a $13 billion nuclear aircraft carrier, and behind its steel hull, behind the roar of jet engines and the thunder of catapults, lies the most complex daily operation humanity has ever put to sea. Today, we're going deep inside that operation to understand how this floating fortress truly works. To begin, you need to understand what an aircraft carrier actually is, because in almost every way, it is not a ship. It's a city, a flying airbase, a mobile power plant, a weapons platform, a global command center, and a community of more than 5,000 people who live and work inside it for months at a time. The first thing that separates it from anything else is scale. 1,100 feet long, 100,000 tons, powered by 2 nuclear reactors that generate enough electricity to power a mid-size American city. If you stacked this ship vertically, it would be taller than the Eiffel Tower. If you emptied it of aircraft and people, you could fit an entire small town inside. And that's exactly what the Navy does, because 5,600 people don't just serve on board. They live here, they sleep here, they eat, train, shower, work, and fight here. Every hallway, every bulkhead, every room is part of a larger machine designed to operate non-stop in one of the harshest environments on Earth. The cost of running this floating city is staggering, more than $6.5 million per day. And the largest portion of that cost, by far, is the people. Salaries, healthcare, food, logistics, training, medical support, and the thousands of tasks required to keep a crew of this size functioning. Just paying and sustaining the personnel on board costs more than $3 million every 24 hours. But everything changes when you move to the flight deck, because an aircraft carrier is, above all, an airport that moves, that pitches up and down, that is constantly hit by salt mist, wind gusts, and violent sea states. And yet, it launches fighters every few minutes, day and night. The air wing on board, usually 60 to 80 aircraft, is the true beating heart of the carrier's mission. FA-18 Super Hornets, F-35C, Lightning II stealth fighters, E-2D Hawkeyes, each one with a specialized purpose, each one requiring fuel, maintenance, spare parts, weapons, and trained personnel. Consider the costs for just one aircraft. A Super Hornet burns around $10,000 for every hour it flies. An F-35C burns more than $30,000 per hour. Multiply that by dozens of jets flying daily training sorties, patrols, and operational missions, and you reach the next major expense of carrier operations: aviation fuel. Tens of thousands of gallons consumed every single day under normal conditions. Over 150,000 gallons per day during intense operations. Now imagine the logistical chain behind all that fuel. Somewhere across the ocean, a supply ship must deliver it. It must pull alongside the carrier, matching speed, matching direction, maintaining perfect distance as both ships move through the waves. Steel cables are fired across, lines are tensioned, hoses are connected, and millions of gallons of fuel begin to flow. It's one of the most dangerous maneuvers done at sea, and yet the carrier depends on it every single week. At the same time, pallets of food move across those cables, enough to feed thousands of people 17,000 meals per day, hundreds of pounds of vegetables, more than 1,500 pounds of chicken, thousands of gallons of drinks, 20,000 cups of coffee every 24 hours. Every sailor on board burns through calories at a level few civilians can imagine. 12-hour shifts on the flight deck, night operations, nuclear watch rotations, engine room heat. The kitchen never closes because the ship never stops. But feeding the crew is only the beginning. A nuclear carrier's power comes from its reactors, two A-1B nuclear engines that provide more electricity than any previous carrier class. They allow the ship to operate without refueling for more than 2 decades. They power everything: the electromagnetic launch system, the advanced arresting gear, the radar arrays, the communication systems, the galley, the living quarters, the weapons lifts, the flight deck machinery, and every piece of electronics on board. Running this nuclear plant requires extreme precision. Every movement is regulated. Every action is logged. Every alarm has a protocol. Nuclear sailors train for years before they ever go near these systems, and yet maintaining nuclear power is one of the highest hidden costs of the carrier. Not just because of the fuel, but because of the infrastructure behind it. Training pipelines, specialized facilities, safety inspections, radiological controls, emergency response teams, support ships, shipyards capable of handling nuclear systems. And when the reactors finally require refueling, which happens once halfway through the ship's 50-year lifespan, the process takes nearly 3 years and costs $6.5 billion on its own. Then come the weapons. Below the flight deck, the ship stores enough bombs, missiles, and ammunition to sustain combat for weeks. Older carriers took hours to move ordnance from storage to the deck, but the Ford class uses 12 electromagnetic weapons elevators that move multi-ton payloads in a fraction of that time. The difference is massive. Faster elevators mean faster turnarounds for aircraft. Faster turnarounds mean more sorties per day. More sorties mean more targets destroyed. This is why a single carrier can launch up to 160 combat sorties daily. That is more firepower delivered in 24 hours than many national air forces can produce in a week. But for all its offensive capability, the ship must defend itself. Starting miles away, the carrier's escort ships, usually destroyers and cruisers, form the first shield. Their job is to detect threats early, shoot down incoming missiles, hunt submarines, and intercept enemy aircraft long before they reach the carrier. Beneath the surface, an attack submarine patrols silently, protecting the group from underwater threats. The carrier itself features multiple layers of defense: long-range missiles, medium-range systems, short-range interceptors, and last-ditch weapons like the Phalanx CIWS, which fires 50 rounds per second to shred incoming missiles in a cloud of tungsten. All of this is coordinated by radar systems that represent the peak of American engineering. The dual-band radar arrays track hundreds of targets simultaneously. They guide missiles, they coordinate aircraft, they detect drones, stealth aircraft, ballistic threats, and even tiny periscopes breaking the waterline dozens of miles away. Inside the Combat Information Center, sailors sit in a room filled with glowing screens. Every dot represents a vessel, an aircraft, an unknown contact, or a threat. The room is silent except for the hum of electronics and the low voices of watchstanders passing information. They monitor the entire battle space. They control the air picture. They track friendlies. They identify unknowns. They coordinate with escort ships. They respond to changing threats in seconds. But even this is not enough, because a nuclear aircraft carrier does not operate alone. It is always part of a strike group. Destroyers, cruisers, submarines, supply ships, surveillance aircraft, satellites, drones, all linked together in a vast network known as Naval Integrated Fire Control. This system allows a radar on a destroyer to guide a missile fired by a fighter jet toward a target detected by a satellite hundreds of miles away. It is one huge, distributed brain, a digital nervous system stretched across the ocean. To keep this complex giant operational, maintenance never ends. Every day, crews inspect critical components. They test sensors. They replace parts. They repaint sections of the hull to fight corrosion. They clean salt from equipment. They repair hydraulics. They update software. They calibrate radar. They test backup systems. The ship is in a constant state of self-repair. When the carrier returns to port, it undergoes even deeper maintenance cycles. Planned incremental availabilities, dry dock inspections, hull preservation, systems upgrades. These upgrades cost millions, sometimes tens or hundreds of millions, and are required just to keep the ship in fighting shape. And still, after all of this, the carrier must remain ready to launch jets on a moment's notice. Pilots train day and night. They practice takeoffs and landings in rough seas, strong winds, low visibility, and high-stress conditions. Landing on a carrier is one of the hardest tasks in aviation. A moving runway, a deck that's pitching and rolling, a target area smaller than a tennis court. Pilots must be perfect because there is no room for error. Meanwhile, the human element keeps everything turning. In the galleys, culinary specialists prepare thousands of meals around the clock. In the engine rooms, mechanics labor in 100-degree heat. On the flight deck, sailors work inches away from multi-million-dollar jets, spinning rotors and jet blasts powerful enough to throw a person into the ocean. In the medical bay, doctors treat injuries, illnesses, and emergencies. Throughout the ship, sailors train for fires, flooding, missile impacts, and worst-case scenarios. Because at sea, help is far away. The crew is the emergency response team, and that's what makes a carrier operation so extraordinary. Not the steel, not the jets, not the missiles, but the people inside. 5,000 individuals acting in perfect synchronization to operate a machine so advanced and so complex that no single person understands every system. A nuclear carrier is the ultimate expression of coordination. A city that floats, a reactor that breathes, a fortress that thinks, and a symbol that speaks without making a sound. Wherever it goes, the world pays attention. When one appears on the horizon, diplomacy shifts, calculations change. Potential adversaries rethink their decisions. Allies feel reassured. Conflicts de-escalate. The ship's presence alone is often enough to influence the direction of world events. And that is why the United States invests billions into these ships, not because they are cheap, not because they are simple, not because they are easy to maintain, but because nothing else on Earth can do what a nuclear aircraft carrier can do. It can appear anywhere, stay for months, launch hundreds of missions per day, control the sky, the sea, and the battle space, protect allies, deter enemies, and project power with a scale no other nation has ever matched. This is how a $13 billion nuclear aircraft carrier works behind the scenes, through complexity, through precision, through engineering, through logistics, through people, through determination, through a system designed to operate flawlessly in the middle of an unforgiving ocean. It is the most powerful machine ever built by human hands, and every day it sails is proof of what that machine and the people who run it are truly capable of.